Can see this okay? And we're going to talk about light today. This is really exciting for me. So some of the things I'm going to share over the coming weeks is really the foundations that I help my clients work on every time. This is something that's really crucial to implement before you start to worry about which supplements to take or which kind of procedures you might want to do. If this is not dialed in, these first 5 sessions where I'm going to go through, it really is essential that is really dialed in, because it just creates the basis, the foundation for everything else you might want to work on. And so light is probably the ultimate. It's like the master ingredient for health. So your eyes actually contain special cells called intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells. That's a mouthful. And those cells, they don't actually help you see, they help you keep time. So they detect the light that comes up in the morning, and as it goes through the day, as the light frequency changes throughout the day, and then also in the evening, and they send that signal directly into your brain to the suprachiasmatic nucleus. And so, or the SCN is the other word for short. And that suprachiasmatic nucleus is kind of like the master clock of the body. And it then coordinates every other clock in your body. Your liver, your gut, your pancreas, your adrenals, your hormones, all of them have their own circadian clocks. And they sync to that master clock signal that comes in through your eyes. And when that signal is strong and consistent, then your body knows what time it is. And when it's weak or regular, on the contrary, when it's weak or regular, your body kind of ends up in chaos. It's kind of like, you think about it like an orchestra. If one instrument starts playing out of tune, before long, the whole orchestra is going to be out of tune, because it's just going to be that. So let's say the trumpet, if the trumpet is off key, eventually the violins are going to be off key and the trombones is going to be off key, just because it creates a distraction for those other players. And it's no different in the body. So if this circadian rhythm is dysregulated, it can actually lead to some chaos. So when that light hits your eyes in the morning, it triggers cortisol release. You can see this on this graph pretty clearly. And that cortisol should follow a specific curve. It should be high in the morning. When you wake up, it's not so high, but then it's called the cortisol awakening response. As you wake up, it kind of ramps up for the first hour or two, and then it should gradually decline throughout the day. So you can see that, it kind of comes up here around the 2 level, and then it should climb up in that first hour, hour and a half, and then it should gradually, over lunchtime, afternoon, until you get to bed at night, it should gradually decline. And so that cortisol, that awakening response, that rise in the cortisol, it starts all kinds of functions in the body. For example, it enables your digestion. It'll prime your stomach to make stomach acid. It'll stimulate the bile production. It gets the whole GI tract to start moving. But if your circadian rhythm is disrupted, if you're not getting that morning light in your eyes, then your cortisol could be flat, or it could be erratic, or it could actually be reversed. You could be starting really high up here, and I've seen this on client testing. It starts up here and then it just plummets down, and you have like a little energy in the morning and nothing for the rest of the day. And so the other thing that it does, it regulates a lot of other functions in the body. And so like hormone release, like gut function, like I already said. And so melatonin, that's what I was going to talk about. So when it doesn't fire properly, then, the melatonin doesn't rise appropriately. So as this cortisol winds down throughout the day, then in the evening, as the cortisol becomes lower and the light comes into your eye and it perceives that change in the light waves, then it triggers the body or the pineal gland actually to start producing more melatonin so that you can actually sleep. So when that morning light is disrupted and the cortisol response is weak or dysregulated, then your melatonin response in the evening is also going to be abnormal. So as I said, your melatonin production is directly tied to light. And when that blue light hits your eyes in the morning, it suppresses melatonin. And that's good because you really want to be awake. And then as the day progresses and the light frequencies changes, then melatonin will, towards the evening hours, gradually increase. And then by evening, it should be climbing to tell your body it's time to wind down. And here's why that's critical, because a disrupted circadian rhythm can actually impair mitochondrial function. And when that is not functioning optimally, then your redox potential, and this is a lot of big words, but you'll understand it here in just a moment. And so then your NAD and NADH ratio that's essential for detox in your liver will then not work properly. And so without that adequate redox potential, your liver can't process hormones like estrogen, for example, and it can't process any melatonin that's there. So when those metabolites don't get processed properly, now you can end up with hormone imbalances. So you could have estrogen dominance, which can lead to heavy periods or breast pain or mood swings or bloating. And so your progesterone also follows a circadian pattern. It should rise in the second half of the day. It's like the calming hormone. So it helps reduce that cortisol response. It supports GABA, and it helps, finish out the digestion in the evening. But again, all of these functions are gated or controlled or regulated by the circadian rhythm, and adequate light, especially in the morning, but all throughout the day, natural light exposure is going to be essential to optimize that. So if you're skipping getting outside in the morning consistently, then your hormones are going to be out of sync and you might be wired and maybe you won't be able to sleep, and then everything else downstream from that is just going to be a struggle. Now, your gut lining also runs on the clock, for example. So you have these enterocytes. Those are the cells that are in the lining of the single cell layer that lines the intestines. They're also regulated by this circadian clock. So when the circadian rhythm is disrupted, you can lose that tight connection between those cells, which can lead to hyperpermeability, or leaky gut is the other word. The gut microbiome, how the bacteria propagate and multiply and function, is also regulated by the circadian rhythm. So it follows that circadian schedule as well. So you can end up with this unbalanced microbiome. Maybe you have some overgrowth of less desirable bacteria. And so the intestinal regeneration, so the migrating motor complex happens at night, also in between meals, but especially at night. That's when the healing and the repair happens. So if you have a disrupted circadian rhythm, the body won't know what time it is. Say you're up at 10 o'clock with the television on or the overhead lights. That's a signal to the body that it's in the middle of the day, it's noontime. And so it'll be confused on what to do next. And by the time it finally figures out, oh, we are asleep, it's already time to get up again. So the time for the repair is actually restricted. It's minimized. There's not enough time to actually do all those works. Let me see. So what do you do tomorrow morning? So here's what you can actually do. So you want to get outside within 30 minutes of waking up. So don't wear sunglasses. Don't be behind the window. If you wear contacts, don't put them in just yet. So you need that light to actually hit your eyes directly, unobstructed, without any kind of objects between it. And it really only takes like 5 to 10 minutes. So you could grab your coffee and walk to the mailbox and back, or just stand on your porch for a few minutes. But that's all it takes to start that circadian rhythm up on the right foot for the day. So it really is the one of the most powerful things that you can do for your health, because even your metabolism runs on this circadian rhythm. So if you've been struggling with some weight loss resistance, for example, you can use the circadian rhythm reset to start your metabolism on the right foot. It's not the only thing to do, but it is, again, the basis for everything else that you'll do afterwards. But then throughout the day, you also want to make sure you get out around noontime or in the afternoon, and also in the evening hours when the light spectrum changes again. So get out multiple times throughout the day, maybe incorporate it with a walk after your meals, and get that natural light in your eyes. Your body really needs that light signal to maintain that rhythm. And then in the evening, as it gets dark, reduce your exposure to blue light, especially as it comes to phones or tablets or television. Also, overhead lights, fluorescent lights, LED lights, they're like poison for your circadian rhythm. But your body really needs to know what time it is in order to be able to wind down. So this is how you literally reset your master clock and help your body turn on all the systems at the appropriate time. Excuse me. So light is really the foundation. Not waxing poetic here, although I might sound a little bit repetitive, but I'm really talking about all the physiological cascades that determine whether your digestion works, whether your hormones are balanced, whether your gut barrier stays intact. Your digestive enzymes aren't produced the same all day. They follow that circadian schedule. And your stomach acid, your bile production, your entire GI tract's readiness to digest food depends on that cortisol signal from the morning light, and then all the clock setting that happens throughout the day. So the light regulates when your digestive enzymes are released along with the food. It regulates the cortisol curve so that stress doesn't tank your system. So it helps you sleep, and sleep is when your body actually heals and repairs. So really, you could eat perfectly and take all the supplements and do all the stress management, but if your circadian rhythm is broken, then it's going to be really hard for your body to carry out all the functions that it needs to process any of the day's goings on. So this is really why I start here with everybody. It's not the sexiest topic, but there really is no supplement to take for that. It just is the foundation to anything else that you want to build on. So think of it as vitamin S for vitamin sun. I hope you found this useful. I saved some time for Q&A, but it doesn't look like anybody's here with me. So hopefully this gives you some insight and something to work towards, to keep in mind as you're working on your health. And with that, I will see you next week. Have an awesome afternoon.